So what we're doing this time is training errors.
They're not terrible, awful, detrimental things, which is things that everybody does when they're just learning how to train. You know, I did it, you did it, you know.
Everybody does it.
Everybody does it, exactly.
To this day, yeah, I don't know about you, but I make them all the time.
I certainly didn't feel like I had to do a lot of acting for some of these. Up first.
We affectionately call it flapping. So when we're training dogs, we want them to attend to either our voice or our hand signal. And if we're moving all over the place and we're flapping and we're just putting a lot of noise in the scene, does that sound like a good description to you?
Yeah, it's hard for the dog to know what to pay attention to if we're not keeping our bodies quiet.
Bob Bailey, the Uber trainer of the universe, drills into all of us, quiet body.
Okay, so the first video, the demo video, is me.
Sit. Timber. Sit.
Sit. Timber. You almost got him there.
He was so unimpressed with this whole session. He stopped doing anything.
Timber.
Until
Sit.
being put together.
Really helped.
Some dogs.
It really made a difference for Timber, especially. Yeah, that's what differentiates professionals from non-professionals.
That's right. That's right. They know how to dig deep. I mean, we don't rag on owners for that. I mean, we've got bigger fish to fry with owners, so we usually don't really care about stuff. Anything to do with antecedents and owners is, I know owners are obsessed with cues and antecedents and what command should I use and blah, blah, blah. But it's not something that we really get fussy about with people in class.
No.
Okay, so next we have, this is one of the things that makes me crazy when I see people do it, and that is waiting for calm. Even sometimes experienced trainers will do this. They'll sort of like, this dog is not trainable because the dog is not perfectly still and focused on them. He's so excited. He won't relax.
You're in a monologue.
He's too excited. He's too motivated. I can't train him like this.
The difference between Brian, who has had a lot more trick training, than Timber, who, we do recalls and stuff. And we do a lot of please don't scrap with your brother stuff.
Which matters.
Right? But just seeing Brian be like, how about this? How about this? How about this? Timber was just like slapping myself.
We're going to talk now about position feed fails. People who maybe aren't trainers don't understand what position feeding is. Sometimes we're using a clicker to train to mark the behavior, and sometimes we're not. But in any case, when you pay the dog, the delivery of the reinforcer, the piece of food, the door opening, the ball, whatever, the dog is going to learn if there's a pattern to anticipate that, and then Pavlovian conditioning will take over, and the dog's going to start to do stuff in anticipation. We can then exploit that system. So for instance, if the dog is in a stay, we want to feed the dog in the position of the stay.
Before I became a dog trainer, it's just honestly, it's something that would never, ever, ever have entered my brain at all. It was one of those, oh my God, of course that makes sense. And then you hear it, hey, give your dog the food while they are in the position you want them to be in. Yeah. It made so much sense. This was early in the session when he was still actually doing the behaviors. He soon stopped. He was like, your rate's in the tank.
This is the best thing ever.
He just stayed out there. At that point, he's like,
the
rate's like not... Okay, so by now, I had put him in the house. But he stayed out for so long, just being like, oh, here's a carrot.
You should be in community theater, by the way. So in the first one, like, oh boy, the reward is coming and I got to be ready to stand. And then the second one, oh my God. The criteria is all over the map. So from one trial to the next, what exactly the dog has to do to be paid is sort of like a moving target. Or the trainer's not being systematic. So they do like maybe 1 or 2 reps and then they raise criteria, or they're lowering criteria, or it's just like this big mess. So here's Brian doing sits from down. Sometimes I'm asking him to do it for a signal, sometimes for a verbal, sometimes for kind of both. Sometimes he goes up too far.
God, he's just so cute.
And when he does his
look at his little... The problem is that You're paying for cute. Okay, this one I think is something that everybody does
Everybody.
until you're told, and then you notice it about yourself, and you're like, "Holy crap! Yes, I do this." But it comes from this sense that the cue is what makes the behavior happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even people who know not to say down, 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 they'll often like signal it 50 times.
The thing to do is to issue the cue or prompt
Right.
a single time.
Right.
Wait.
Timber, spin, spin, spin,
You poor dude.
spin, 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 spin. French, le spin.
I really hope that doesn't mean something bad in French. He's just like, I give up on you. I give up on you, human.
This is one that drives dog trainers crazy. So not paying, basically just failing to cough up reinforcement. And generally speaking, we're talking about food. That's the one that owners in particular, for some reason it feels like this corruptive force.
I didn't even know that dog training took repetitions.
Oh yeah.
So if you're a rookie at that level, when you're like,
Yes.
there's this magic thing. How did these people make these dogs do this magic thing? Is it like, is it something? It felt like there was some kind of psychology going on, as opposed to just no. We just crank out the repetitions to get the dog better. Number one on the list of, if you do this as a new dog trainer,
Right.
you will be. Your dog will not learn.
Okay, so
and in fact, if you do pay your dog, a lot of the other stuff will probably matter way less.
Now, you'd think he would be responding better than this because I'm doing the hands. Yeah. It's just, he ends up just collecting it himself.
Museum hands.
Yeah.
Although he was doing a ton of behaviors.
He wasn't doing what he knew he should be doing.
Clicking late, like doing other things, other sort of behaviors that would mark to the dog, so the dog would start to ignore the clicker because they're like, aha, the human's reaching. I was thinking about that. But then also my favorite thing of pointing the clicker at the dog, like a little remote control, and clicking. Where did your mind go when you read clicker mishandling?
I thought literally like, oh, you're holding it at the wrong end, or maybe you are right, or you missed the button.
You know what I felt like when I watched this video afterwards? I don't know if you ever play video games. If you take the view where you can see your own character, they're like, they often just sit in space and do this kind of like at the ready, back and forth. That's what I felt like here. I was like,
oh my God, yes.
It says clicker. A motor pattern that humans just don't do.
Timber just refuses to be lured or hand signaled into a spin, so I'm just going to have to reshape it.
You did the disdain eyebrow.
I'm just going to wait for him to do something
This feels
like remotely adjacent to a spin.
A very similar thing in YouTube videos from dog trainers.
Totally.
He refuses to be lured.
Refuses.
Yeah. Timber's just like,
it's
what the
stressing him.
hell?
He's finding the lure stressful and aversive. There you
Yeah.
are. There you are. You're doing it.
Here I go.
This is my favorite thing.
I'm ready.
Yeah, you're so ready.
And Timber's like, oh, and there we go. I did it. I did the reach before the reach before the click. And Timber wasn't even doing anything. This is my thing that I find really frustrating. And I think it's because I learned to train on dogs who rate really matters to. So rate of reinforcement is how many repetitions, how many treats the dog is getting in, per minute. It's usually measured in. You can see Timber just walking away, and he's not
totally.
He's not a naive dog. I've done quite a bit of training with him, not recently, but like and also he gets treats for recalls and sits on the daily, right?
Right.
And yet in a training session, as I was like mucking about to make this video, he literally was walking away. And then by the end, he wouldn't sit for a cue. He wouldn't sit for a hand signal. He would only sit for a full lure. It was so important for my dogs, the dogs that I learned to train on, that when I see other people getting away with a crappy rate, I get kind of like, you don't even know how good you have it.
Once you've paid, start the next trial.
Start the next trial.
And start the next trial.
The next trial.
And start the next trial.
The next trial.
Good boy.
This is kind of leisurely, laconic kind of,
And you're also missing opportunities when he does the behavior.
Oh yeah, like yeah, okay, maybe I'll pay that. I don't know, maybe not.
And I feel like I have seen this too, like
and people feel like they're being methodical or thoughtful or whatever, and it's just slow.
Yeah.
It looks like a 5 or something.
I was going 4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah. And now it's
this made me laugh. And I've seen this kind of thing.
Totally.
From rookie, you just don't know, right?
Right, yeah. Like a Venn diagram are overlapping. So the whole waiting for the dog to be in the perfect state ends up making you slow. Criteria plays into it. So if you don't know what your criteria is, if you stop to think about it because you're not using a plan, that eats time on the clock during the session. So we want to do all that agonizing before the training session. Okay, so now the next one is dropophobia. So what is that?
Dropophobia is, so if you're training with the plan, you're moving between steps. You do step 1, dog gets good enough at step 1, you move to step 2. If the dog demonstrates that they can't handle step 2, you need to just go back to step 1. It's a very simple thing. This dog can't do step 2. I'm going to do some more reps at step 1. But there's something human about that. No, I can't. I made it to step 2. I'm not going to go back. So people just sit, and then they're doing multiple repetitions of the same. They're cue chanting, however that looks, whether it's a prompt or
anything
cue.
but drop.
Yeah.
Or if they have to drop, they do drop, but then they're like, something's wrong. But if you never drop, so let's say, if you did a plan and over every dog, you never had to drop, what it could mean is you could have been more aggressive with the steps, and you might not be as efficient as you could be.
I like gnawing on a problem, and I don't think we should remove all gnawing on a problem stuff from dogs' lives. Like they can try stuff and find that it doesn't work. He does the first step excellently, which is following a food lure. Yep. The next step is following an empty hand.
That was a beautiful rep. Yeah. That was not his most graceful. But he's totally doing it.
He's totally doing it. You can see his Hellboy paw coming up to hit me there.
Hellboy.
5. Empty hand.
It's like, oh my God, he's gonna do it. And then he's like, how about if I just move my head?
Okay, come on, Timber, you can do it. You can do it. Come on, Tins. Come on, Timmy Tins. Come on, Tins. Come on, Timmy.
I want to point out that you have a nice quiet body here. That's the only thing that is happening is your signal hand. So that's actually.
I'm being very chatty, which is
you're being
my norm.
not flappy. Yeah, you're talking, but you're not flappy with your body here. He's like, you know what? This hand following thing is rubbish.
He goes. At one point, he noms me, which there was a foot. It's so cute. There we go. You know what? There we go, Jean. There we go. Right?
I hate to say it, and I know it's not like your favorite thing, but you in a dress, do you have high heels?
I don't think so. Men's boxer briefs that day.
Yeah.
And then I just put the dress over and I was like, oh, good, I'm not going to have a panty line.
Now, can we just talk about my pants? I don't know what I was thinking. It makes the COVID weight gain look even worse.
Those are like one of the only reasonable pair of town pants that I own. They're a little bit too short. So I'm like, wow, I've got like an inch of sock showing.
What do you sacrifice? Do you sacrifice the socks, or do you sacrifice the top?
Yeah.
The struggle is real.